Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Anurag and welcome to my channel. So in this channel, what I do is, I take medical topics, medical things, and I simplify them to the core as much as possible for your fun viewing, all in all, right? So that's what I do. You can call it a weekly dose of health, positivity, and motivation, all in all. So if you're down for, videos like that, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Yeah, but today's video is quite different because you might have already noticed that it's pretty long, and it's because it's an interview of a fellow doctor, my one of my seniors who got matched into Johns Hopkins for the match year 2020 in anesthesiology. So yeah, but don't close the video just yet, because even if you're not a medical person, if you want to watch a video regarding hard work and perseverance, and how one health professional from Nepal gets into one of the holy grail universities of medicine. So if you want that, then it's there. Even if you don't want to watch that video, then yeah, I have other of my videos here around here, and you can watch those videos as well. So medical people can vouch for this, that every medical professional once in their life has probably thought about getting into Johns Hopkins or has imagined about that place, right? So it's that big of a deal for medical professionals like us, and that's why I'm really excited to give you this interview of Dr. Gaurav Raj Shrestha. Right, so a bit of background about what the university is. I mean, if you've heard terms like Osler's node, Dandy Walker syndrome, or Cushing syndrome and things like that, then yeah, these were named after doctors and surgeons, physicians who were once a part of Johns Hopkins. It's the home to so many Nobel Prize winners in medicine and physiology, so that is kind of the legacy that this place holds. Yeah, even if in fictional characters, Johns Hopkins is always a recurring university, because two of the cardiothoracic surgeons from Grey's Anatomy, they were from Johns Hopkins. The family doctor of The Simpsons, Dr. Julius Hibbert, he also graduated from Johns Hopkins, and probably one of the most famous doctors in television history, Dr. Gregory House, he attended Johns Hopkins, but apparently he was kicked out from there. So yeah, from fiction to reality, that is the prowess, that is the charisma that Johns Hopkins has, and that is why this video is really, really special. So yeah, this is going to be a series. It's called USMLE series. I talk about United States medical licensing examination and people who have already aced it and who are doing their residency. So I'll be bringing them for interviews. Yeah, so if you're down for that, then yeah, I'm sure that you are in for an amazing ride today. I've got Dr. Gaurav Raj Shrestha with me, so let the intro roll and get into the interview right away. Okay, now let me introduce you to Dr. Gaurav Raj Shrestha, who matched into Johns Hopkins University Anesthesia and Residency Program. A little bit of background: he graduated from Kish Medical College, Nepal in 2017. Worked as a medical officer in the anesthesia and ICU department at BNB Hospital before matching in the year 2020. So if you're watching from outside Nepal, then the word Gaurav actually means pride. His personality is totally on the contrary, as he's one of the most humble people that I've ever met. However, just like his name, he has brought pride to the medical community here in Nepal, as well as to all those non-U.S. Doctors who are trying to get into an amazing program in the United States. So yeah, he has a larger-than-life personality infused with great academics, and an all-round physician with a knack for anesthesiology. So yeah, welcome, Dr. Gaurav. Feels great to have you here in the show.
Thank you, Anurag. Thank you very much. Wow, that's that's a whole lot of introduction. Thank you so much. I mean, you've always had such greater things and very nice words to say. I mean, yeah, I'm just very flattered. Thank you, Anurag. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so Dr. Gaurav, so before we start your journey as a whole about your choice of residency, I mean, I want to know, why anesthesiology? I mean, like, how did you discover it as your calling? There are a lot of doctors who are undecided about what they want to pursue, but you kind of made a choice and then you went with that leap of faith, right? So why anesthesiology in a bit short kind of an kind of a way?
Right. I know. I think this is something that like bogs down every medical student during their med school or even after med school. So for me, actually it was not like just like that, you know. It had like a lot of thinking into it, or you know, I had to experience and then just see for myself which specialty was best for me. And like just in brief, I would say I was like kind of attracted, or you know, just drawn towards critical care and like intensive medicine during my med school years. And part of reason for that may be because the acuity, or you know, the demanding nature of the cases. And then you know, it was like really very interesting for me. And for one, the stress initially, you know, the stressful situations, you know, that was really something that I dreaded. And I guess that fear or that dread actually drew me towards critical care. And then slowly after my med school days, I mean, right after I graduated, I joined the anesthesia and critical care department at the BNB hospital. So there it was actually a place where I could just see and be on the shoes of an anesthesiologist as well as a critical care physician. So it was kind of like you know, a place where I could just experience as an anesthesia doctor, you know, what you were doing. And you know, it's just the basically the details that you have to basically focus on. So just about talking about a case, you know, so you have to have like general idea of each and everything, or you know, you have to know the condition of the patient, you have to know the internal medicine portion, like the predisposing factors or the diseases that the patient is having. And more than that, I guess you also should be well known to the surgery that the patient is having, or you know, as in general, you are like kind of like a supervisor to the patient during the surgery. So it was like a role that was really inspiring for me, you know. You have like knowledge and everything, and then the surgeon is dependent on you, the entire like OT team is dependent on you, like you're just the manager there. So that was like a role, you know, like a dark night behind the curtains. So that was really inspiring for me. And more than that, I guess you know, during the wards, or even when a patient crashed, or when there's a code, so people usually looked out for anesthesiologists. You know, they are the ones to intubate and then do the resuscitation, the advanced cardiac care, and everything, and those sorts of things. So it was kind of like, you know, wow, this is actually what it means, like saving lives. This is it. And that was like most important thing that drew me towards anesthesia. And other than that, I guess I like to work with my hands as well. I like to think and work with my hands as well. So anesthesia was like the perfect specialty for me. Yeah, but you know, I don't mean to say anesthesia is everything. Like there are I mean, each and every specialty is unique in its own way. But for me, I guess my personality kind of like latched on to anesthesia. So that was like, yeah, that was why I chose anesthesia.
Well, that sounds great, especially the Dark Knight analogy. You know, I really resonated with that because, yeah, you're kind of like Batman. You're there, you're not there, you're in the shadows, but you know you get things done. So yeah, that's a pretty good analogy.
Exactly.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Right.
moving on to with the show. I mean, so let's get into the thing that everyone has to prepare for. You know, so your journey from med school here in Nepal and you know graduating in 2017 until becoming getting matched into one of the places which I feel that once have that has come that dream has come across among every healthcare professional's mind. You know, like once you think of it and you think about so what it feels like to be getting into Johns Hopkins. You know, so I mean, so how does it feel to have done that? And if you could just sum up your journey, in a little bit about how you went from here, med school in Nepal, from KIST to all the way to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, absolutely, Anurag. So it's obviously a very like happy moment right now. Like you're just done with the journey, and like the entire USMLE journey with the step exams and everything, the application, and then finally just to know that you matched, it was just awesome. And then once I found out, so I guess many of you know that. and even you know that like we match in the beginning, and like 2 or 3 days you know that you matched into a certain place. So it was already like a very happy moment for me just to know that I matched, because it's a big thing for, especially for the foreign doctors. But then once I knew it was once I found out it was Johns Hopkins, it was just I don't think I can exactly describe the moment. But my sisters were saying that I had like this big smile on my face. So yeah, it's a really great feeling. Um, at this
I
point,
don't want to interrupt you, but when you're staying at home, and when you're in bed, and you're just thinking about life, and you're like, okay, so Johns Hopkins. So how is that feeling? I really want to know how does it feel? Because just getting into medical school in the first place, it makes you happy already, and you're pursuing all these things.
right, right,
You would come across all these stages of step one, step two, step three, and things are there.
right.
What goes through through the mind of a an upcoming anesthesiology resident in Johns Hopkins. And I just wanted to get into that mindset, before you start explaining about your journey.
Right, right. I totally understand it, because I mean, I can just project myself, or like just imagine myself being at your position, or I would say remember myself, because just a few years, I mean, just 1 year back, I was exactly where you stand now. So when you like just speculate from that point of view, it feels like I mean everything. And to be honest, right now I'm very happy, and I guess more than that, just I'm more excited. Kind of like more cautious about how it's going to be, because right now I'm still in Nepal and just thinking about like starting residency, and I've not actually been through that phase. So it's really really very exhilarating. Like you're very happy that you matched there, and even when like you and all the people have so good things to say about Johns Hopkins and like congratulate me, that gets, I mean, like your happiness even is even more when you share it, right? So I guess right now I'm in that phase. I just knew I matched, and I'm in Johns Hopkins. I'm sharing with people around me. Um, but I don't know. Just let me think about it, or you can maybe ask me a year later. How's it, Gaurav? Like, how is it? How's your residency going on? And maybe I'd have a different answer. I don't know. But right now, I think I'm reaping what I sowed.
Absolutely.
um, I'm just happy trying to be in the moment, and just trying to contemplate the journey ahead.
I guess even
But
the viewers,
yes.
can get into your excitement because of the. After I asked you the questions, I don't know if people noticed that or not. Your camera started moving a lot, so that shows that you're happy at some generous
Oh,
level. So the camera is pretty shaky.
I'm
So
sorry. I'm sorry. So
okay, okay,
like
okay, don't worry.
I tend to, yeah, I tend to like move my hands while talking. So that might have, I'm talking about over my phone, so that might have like done that
Okay,
shaky things. Anyways, so I would say my journey was pretty much average. Like every other medical student's journey. Like right after I graduated, I hadn't planned on doing a USMLE. I just was thinking about it, but I'd not really given a thought. But once I did my house off, or the house staff job, like I guess it really hit me to just pursue medical training, or for the training in like one of the best places, and certainly United States is that place. And then it wasn't right at the beginning of my journey that I knew I'd even do anesthesia, or I'd even match at Johns Hopkins, because for most of us, we need to just think about if I'm doing this or not. Am I ready to commit to this journey or not? So it was pretty much normal, like everyone what everyone else feels. But as I moved on, you gain experience, and then you gain, I guess, that perspective to just, yeah, this is it. Like as you move on, as you go along, I guess it's challenging as well as rewarding at the same time. And then So talking about the journey itself, so during my house staff job, I guess that taught me a lot. Like you had to deal with critical care patients, and then you're their doctors, so you have to be in a really responsible position, and that made me like even more eager to like have like the best possible training or best possible education as much as possible, because obviously you want to do or try your best for the patient, right? So yeah, with that motto, I guess, with that motive, I just started studying for USMLE, and also because USMLE is obviously very attractive for medical people, working in the United States itself. Anyways, so I think step one, step two, CK and CS almost it's pretty much the same journey as everyone else. But for me, the thing that was most unique for me was, I guess, deciding on anesthesia, because a lot of us just head towards internal medicine or any other primary specialties. And one thing I like to share is that there were a lot of people, actually, and a lot of other friends as well as people who were kind of like, skeptical about me choosing anesthesia. I'm not saying that they were entirely negative, but uh, they were trying to, I guess, think best what's best for me and trying to make me cautious. But eventually, I guess I moved on with my heart. Just I think I should give it a try, like for anesthesia, and really deciding on that, making that decision was most difficult thing, I guess, because you have to commit, and even your application, you have to like mend it for anesthesia, and then you have to think about each and everything, including the clinical experiences. So that was a little bit unique for me. And then from so how Johns Hopkins, I guess I get this question a lot. So I had been in contact with one of the Johns Hopkins resident, anesthesia resident, and there's a long story to that. But long story short, I met him at a meditation center. I practiced Vipassana meditation, and that was when I met him. I just had a conversation, and then we were in touch for like even before I started my USMLE journey. So I was probably, more or less, uh, known to how anesthesia residency is, and mostly in Hopkins. So the things that he would share with me, like it was, kind of fascinating, and then really attractive. You would wanna. It's like, okay, I want to do my residency there. So that was what actually like placed that idea in my head, like you should try for that, right?
But that
And
was before you had all thought about pursuing a career in the US, right? I mean, according to what I
yeah.
know, according to what I know, you were around in third year, I guess. At that time, you just were in the meditation center in at Vipassana, and then you just got along, right? So that's the I mean the initiating factor that I wanted to share with other people is that like you've known him for quite a long time, before you decided that you were going to pursue it, right?
Oh, okay, wait, let me correct you. So I went to Vipassana from third year, but I actually met him after I graduated in the
Okay.
center.
No, no, no.
So
You,
I was like
I'm
a
so sorry.
regular. Yeah, I was like a regular meditation yogi, and then we met at the center. And at that time, I was already like doing my house staff job in anesthesia at BNB Hospital. So like you can just share your thoughts about anesthesia, and that was also the time around when I was contemplating, like really thinking seriously about pursuing US medical residency. So yeah, that was like, I guess it was coincidental, or I don't know. Very well put, by destiny. I
Yeah,
don't know.
cosmic,
So
cosmic coincidence, right? But before we get
right.
into that, I would really like you to talk about a bit of your scores as well, because you've got very good scores. We didn't mention it in the interview before, and it's as if like because not everything is a coincidence, right? Because you've put in a lot of effort, and you on your part have been doing your part in the best way possible. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we can go back into how things they took shape for you. First of all, let's talk about what you did. The other things are always there, because the external hands are always there. And in your case, some things worked out pretty well, but you were definitely in a position where someone could vouch for you, and you were there. You were credible enough for someone to vouch for you. So let's talk about that. A little bit about
Oh,
scores,
thank you.
and then let's go
Thank you,
into
Anurag.
the other things that happened.
Right. So thank you, Anurag. Like I didn't want to I didn't want to touch that portion initially because I guess that's what everyone is doing. So, but no matter regardless. So about the scores, yeah. So it was. I guess I was lucky at the same time, and then I got pretty good scores. I mean, I had worked hard. I know that, but sometimes you just need that little bit of luck also, I guess, to reach that point. But um, so it was, I guess, dedication. And the thing I said, like motive, or like what you want to do. So you just really want to give your best, right? So like you leave nothing behind. Like you put on your full effort to achieve that goal, and I guess that's what really matters. I'm not saying like people don't do that. Everyone tries to do it, and everyone does it. But I guess there is a little bit of luck as well. There is a little bit of I don't know, you know um, like I guess you need to be clever
For our
in
viewers out there, this our Dr. Gaurav, he's too humble of a person to share his scores. I assure you, he's got great
or you
scores. He's got both scores 260 plus. So if he does not want to mention the numbers, it's all right. But both his step scores are 260 plus. All right, so that is something you have to keep in mind, because he's too humble to be sharing that right now. So I helped you out, Dr. Gaurav, right here.
I mean, thank you for sharing, Anurag. But scores matter, but not that much. Because I'll talk about how program directors will view your applications as well later on. But definitely, scores matter for foreign medical graduates. I have to be honest. But it's not everything, though. Like it'll definitely give you an upper hand while applying for different residency programs. And yeah, I got to above scores above 260s. But it was not the not the what do you call it, like the smoking gun, because it's like very complicated, the entire application process and how the program directors view you. It's a really complicated yeah, process. Anyways, yeah. So I'm sorry, I just lost track of what we were talking about.
No,
Yeah,
that's
anyways, about
understandable.
the anyways, about
Actually,
the
I was the
about the
one who
journey.
deviated you from the conversation, so.
No, it's okay. It's fine, Onrag. I mean, you say like I'm very humble, but I guess I guess we can see each other's humbleness because we both are humble.
Let's not
I'm not
go into that. So,
sure,
regarding the
sure.
fact that, so after, so let's fast forward step one, step two, and CS, right? Because these are these are the steps that everyone has to definitely take. So, about your CK journey, right? So, you did CK in a really short amount of time where you were in the US. And could you tell us about your CK journey, and regarding how you got in touch with, so regarding observerships in anesthesia, and so if we could go
Okay,
into a little bit into that, then we can move on into your interview at Hopkins
sure,
and what could have happened. So in that way, I think it'll give a bit of a direction, because I'm totally new to this, and I
sure, sure.
actually
No
don't
problem.
actually know how to take it along. But I guess that would be a good way to give the show onto this.
Sure. No, no. It's a really good approach. I agree with you. So I'm sorry. My I had to like appear for the state exams in like relatively quick successions. I had to appear for them. I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't think about it pretty well in the beginning. So, like you said, for CK, I had almost, I wouldn't say just CK. So, within a span of 5 or 6 months, I had to appear for CS and CK. That was like a very complicated thing to do, and especially because you do not have that that option of appearing for CS late, because the scores of CS or your score report of CS, where that usually comes a month or two after your exams. Whereas for CK, yeah, your results are out after 4 weeks. So that was like a gamble that I took, because my CS was earlier and I didn't have enough time to prepare for CK. So I just took my CS on June 24th, and then June 24th, 2019, and then my CK on August 15th. So yeah, I mean, there were my few other friends as well. Like without them, I guess it would be very difficult for me alone, or I wouldn't even think about like appearing for CK in the United States, given that I had no one there, like just to stay for that long and just appear for exams. So what we did was, after our CS was after we appeared for our CS, then we just rented a house and stayed there for about 2 months, and that was when we studied for CK, and then applied for observerships, and I guess thanks to whatever that energy there is that made it happen. We were lucky enough to make it through, and actually we all were able to appear for our CK, and then do some observerships and apply as well. So anyways, how I studied, it's like I just used UWorld as my main source. I guess we're not talking about like the sources or the steps in detail. So just I just want to briefly just scan through it. Like I just used UWorld and then practiced a lot of questions. And with my practice, I guess that worked for me in the exams. It was definitely a very tough exam. I wasn't sure what I was doing in the middle of the exam, like more than once. And then, but even then, it worked out pretty well in the end. Yeah, I'm very happy for that. So right after we appeared for our exams, we had to apply before September 15. So we had also consecutively applied for observerships at multiple places. So we were reaching out to doctors or any physician who we can just go and talk to directly, either through email or personally as well, because we were in Houston at that moment. So we did that. We tried everything. We did our best, and luckily, I was able to. I was offered an observership position at the University of Texas, and this doctor was very generous, and he offered me a opportunity of shadowing him. Did that, and that was also like a very good opportunity to a very good chance to meet with anesthesia residents, get a new perspective of how anesthesia residency is like in the United States. And that too made a lot of faculties. There were a lot of people that helped me in the journey as well, like with the application process, or with my either through reviewing my CV or my personal statements. They all helped very much. So yeah, and then right before September 15, thankfully I was able to apply for my for the application for the match.
So that sounds great. So right now the observerships and the CS everything is cancelled. But for future viewers will be viewing this, beyond 2021 22, when the observerships will be open again, hopefully. So at that time, so what do you suggest? You suggest that if you're in the US, if you're going there, then just try and get connected with a lot of people, right? So I think that is one of
Right,
the most important things that
right,
I feel that I've understood from your journey. It's like you just think about it clearly, and you just reach out to people who you think that will be able to help you.
exactly.
Just do that, right? So networking is a huge part of. I mean, it's everywhere. Networking is
Right,
required to be successful in every field, but especially in our field, coming
true.
from different kind of a country and going there and being able to win the hearts of physicians who you are going to you're going to shadow. So I think that is a huge, I mean, part of being a good candidate, I guess, right? I think
Right,
you
right.
will also vouch regarding that topic.
Right, right. That's absolutely true, Anurag. I cannot agree with you more on this. So it's a bit tricky as well, because networking, it's like a two-edged sword. Like you have to have that optimum, or that on the point attitude.
Yeah.
You should be genuine with your words, and then most of all, I guess, you have to show that you are dedicated and you really want what you're asking for. So I guess people, there are a lot of doctors out there who are very much experienced, and they have seen so much students or medical graduates or observers before us. So they can just say it, like they can just see you and then evaluate you at the same time. So I guess it's very important that you have that genuinity or that attitude. But if it's right, then definitely they are very helpful people, and like they always say, US is full of opportunities. You'll obviously grab one later or sooner. So yeah, that's absolutely true, Anurag. Networking.
Okay, so Dr. Gaurav, moving on. Well, so this year's application date is around the corner, and so let's not get into how things are going on, because there have been a lot of things that have been going on due to this pandemic situation.
Right, right.
But let's not get into that.
Hmm.
However, so let's say you get into an interview, or you're going to submit your application to um, you know a certain program that you like.
Program.
So I want to
Mhm.
know, according to your experience, what do you feel that makes up a good candidate, or what is the program director looking for? Let's say you step into the room, and after you come out, there are two people, right? So after you come out, there's one person who took your interview, and there's another person, you, who gave the interview, right? So those two
Right.
people are on the two different spectrums, right? So after you come out, right? So you must have felt that, okay, so it went good, or it went okay, or something like that would have happened. But I'm trying to ask you about, how do you think would a program director think about a candidate, after the candidate comes into the interview? So what is a program director actually looking for? So is it only academics, or is it something eccentric, out of the box, or maybe your and the program director's frequencies just match. So is that what the definition of match is? I mean, just getting the vibrations right. So you both are similar
Right, right.
people, and he just says that, okay, you're gonna get the position. Okay, so how
Um,
does that happen? I mean, what do you think would comprise a good candidate, and what do you think a program director is looking for? To put the question short, in your
right.
perspective, that is.
Okay, so I mean, you have put the question very well, Anurag. I have to give that to you. Like, give a shout out to you, because
Thank you, thank you.
I mean, because a lot of things what you said are the answers to your question itself. So I guess this is like the most difficult and the million-dollar question for everyone. How does program director perceive about you? And even if I matched, I'm not sure I would be able to give a correct answer. But however, I'll just try to put in my perspective. So I guess I'll talk about the general application and process. I think like there are like two different parts, like before the interview and after the interview. So before the interview, what the program director is essentially is looking at is your application, right? Your personal statement, your CV, your experiences, your letters of recommendation. So that's how they evaluate you, your scores, and that's how they are painting an image out of you. So I guess for the candidates, I would like to say keep it genuine but presentable. Like you might have something, but if you don't know how to present it in a right way, then it's no point. Like there's no point in putting that in the paper, like just mentioning it, right? So you have to have an approach, like preparing a proper personal statement or like a CV. You may want to seek help of professionals who may be able to like just review your application for once. Maybe just reach out to whoever that's mentoring you, your seniors, your teachers, or your mentors with whom you are doing your observerships and all. They'll definitely give you an advice. So before the interviews, before you're called for interviews, I guess that's the most important portion. And you know, while what I mean by making it presentable is like, so just think about it. Like the program directors have to read about like 1,500 or thousands of applications, right? They have to go through each and every one of them. So try to prepare an application in such a way that your application catches an eye of the program director. So just think of it as reading a novel, right? So when you're reading a novel, how the story progresses, or how the writer presents the content. So I mean, more or less, it's like it's the same emotion. It's sadness, or either it's very love or affection. But it all matters how the writer presents it, right, in the novel. So that's like an art, I would say. So just seek out help, but do it yourself. Like just draw a draft, and that too like months before the application, or else you'll be like rushing for the application within a matter of days or weeks. That'll be very bad for your application. So just prepare or work on your application like months before, so that you can work on it gradually and like receive feedbacks on it time and again, and finally shape your application in such a way that that's like very attractive one. I mean, I can definitely help if anyone wants to reach out. So I can definitely help you with that. Yeah. So this is before your interviews, and after your interviews, it's just you. So how, I guess, the program directors, value interviews way more than what I guess at least we Nepali medical graduates do, because we don't think a lot about interviews. Even me, I didn't have like that insight about how important interviews are for matching before going for interviews. And that was really important, because the program directors say, I mean, a lot of people say that after you're called for interviews, your application on your paper doesn't really matter. Like your scores, what you had, your experiences doesn't matter. Now you're there, right? So they're actually evaluating you. So just forget all of that and try to build up an image that has the basic characteristics of a doctor, like dedicated, hardworking, and then diligent, genuine, punctual. So these are like the basic qualities that each and every doctor should have, right? So build your foundation on that. Like whenever you are trying to talk to a doctor, like remember on these foundations and build up an image of yourself. And as you add on, like more blocks to it, just try to add something that's interesting about you. And that's where it comes, like hobbies, like what you are interested in. And your hobbies can be a very good way to show that you are personable, or you are more like more conversant or more complacent, because once you share your hobbies, the people next to you can actually better get to know you, or at least what you're interested in. So that's like a very tough job. I know it's like a very complicated job. So basically, to summarize, you just have to show them those qualities, that you're hardworking, punctual, and basic qualities of a doctor, and then something interesting about you, and then just put it in a way that that makes your application really genuine, and really committed towards the specialty you are applying for. Because program directors really rank that very high. Like it's very significant to them, like the dedication, the commitment, that they just think about it like, I would say, very important, just to put it in a simple words. And other than that, try to be like, very personable, like you just said, networking. Once you are able to talk to someone very fluently, and you don't need, and by fluently I don't mean fluent in English, just fluently that, you can talk to the person, and can discuss about the subject or the content, whatever you're talking about, in genuine way, like, uh, so that's what is important. I know I said a lot of things, like, about like good qualities and everything. um, I can actually maybe probably help you guys prepare for interviews, because that was what I received help most on from my seniors. So, and once you actually go for interviews, then you'll get a hold of how program directors, or how people talk to you, or and you gradually start getting a hang of it. But basically, it's just being genuine. Just
Okay.
you don't need to add or subtract anything from your personality. Just be yourself.
Yeah, I kind of believe this fact, that there is at least one program director out there for one candidate. Do you feel that way?
True.
You
True.
know,
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so I agree with that. And even program directors say that matching, it's like just like dating. Like, you have to find that right person. And to some extent, I find it really true, because you have to spend a lot of time with that person, and 3 or 4 years. It's like a significant amount of your like very productive years, right? So they would want someone who is dependable, or someone who is good to reach out, or good to approach, who's very personable. So that, yeah, that matters a lot. And I guess you mentioned like eccentric, thinking out of the box. So I guess I would say, those are like added qualities, like, auxiliary qualities. If you have them, then that's good. But essentially, if you are trying to make up one, like, even if you don't have it, like those kind of characteristics, I'm pretty sure it's not going to turn out very good, because they can really catch it. I
yeah,
mean,
because
they
they're
have been
probably
interviewing
interviewing
people
a
like,
lot of people, right?
right, right. So that's very important as well. um
Okay, so
yeah,
Gaurav,
so
I wanted to ask you one thing, in short, if you could put it. So how was your interview experience, getting into the, program director's office, or I don't know. I'm just imagining, there's a kind of an office where you get into, and so how was your interview experience in short, and about, so there already were some people who were rooting for you at Johns Hopkins, right? So there were people who believed in you, and through the connections that you made while you were in observership. So all of that added up, right? So, but when you get
right,
into the interview room, you are alone, right? So it's you and the program
right,
director, and it's Judgment Day right there, right? so so
right,
so
right. That's
how was pre-judge? Match day is obviously the Judgment Day and all, but the semi-final kind of a thing, right? So how was that experience? Getting into the room and then talking to the program director, and what were your thoughts after you came out? So with this, and if you could include any golden tips that you want to give to our viewers, then that'd be really great. And it'd be a great way to actually sum up all of this, because you and I could go on for hours and hours, and so
that's right, that's
kind,
right. uh
kind of beats the purpose of the video, but I feel that a lot of people can relate to the situation that you are in, because it's not only about doing one thing in particular, it's about everything coming together. It's just like becoming something coming full circle. So yeah, yeah. How was your experience, just entering into the chamber, the chamber, and talking about it, and how did you feel after you at the end of the interview? So how
right,
how happy you were, or what was running through your mind? And with that, a few
right,
tips that you feel that will be golden for the coming match
right,
season.
right. um yeah, so my experience on the hot seat, huh? Okay.
Yeah, you could say
So,
the hot seat. Yeah, hottest seat that you ever sit in your life, I guess.
yeah, you could put it that way. Anyways, so like you said, so the connection that I had at Johns Hopkins were really helpful in a way that they helped my application stand out. Like so they had already said that endorsed or recommended my application. So obviously, the any program director would take a good look at the applications that they are recommended to. So I guess that helped a lot because I remember my program director knew almost everything about my application because he was thorough, very like word to word. And like I had mentioned something personal about myself in the personal statement, and he was like quite he easily caught up that and brought it up in the interview. But anyways, so during the interview, I guess you guys are aware of the general format. So you have this pre-interview dinner and then the interview day. So the pre-interview dinner happens on the evening before your interview day, and that's when you meet all of the residents who are doing there. There are no program directors or the program leader, any member of the program leadership, or anyone who is evaluating you on your application for that matter. You just get to know the program a bit more. So the fact that I had like known pretty much a lot of things about Johns Hopkins beforehand through the resident that I was in contact gave me like a little bit advantage because I was obviously known to some of the programs that Johns Hopkins was having and actually interested in as well. So I had, I mean, it was basically with the residents, it was kind of very cool and relaxed conversation in the pre-interview dinner. And they also gave us like a heads up of what to expect, like how the interview would be going on. But to talk about like the core, the main content, the primary content, the interview. So how it happens is like there were 4 interviewees and you will have one-on-one interview with each of them. So what you do is you just go into the room, walk into the room, and talk with them, and be sure. Like I'm 100% sure, I guess, that they won't ask medical questions. It's just how you are, or about your personality, or about your application in general. So for me, the interview was I had my interview with the program director at the end. Like the 4th interviewee was the program director. So I guess that gave me like a practice, like that made me a little bit habituated to the environment or what was happening. I mean, I was a little bit anxious as well, but more excited, about how it would be an interview at the Johns Hopkins. But I had anesthesia interviews and other interviews before as well. So, I was pretty much like primed, pretty much prepared in some ways. So I wasn't nervous. I was nervous a little bit, but not up to the point that would like be injurious to yourself. Anyways, so during the interviews, it obviously began with the resident that I knew who had recommended me. So it just for some time it revolved around how I met him, my relationship with him, and then gradually it moved towards my application, and then why I wanted anesthesia, and then why I wanted to do medicine in the United States. These are some of the general questions that you'll be having. And then once you are like able to communicate properly, that will also build up a rapport, like the initial conversation, that will build up a rapport. So that was like really great with the program director. Like I was talking to him like as a friend, while talking to him, it wasn't in my head that this is the program director. Like he was someone from Johns Hopkins that I was sharing my views or my interests with. So I guess that is the most important factor, I guess, in any interview. Just being at the moment. And that was important in a way because he had asked me a few questions, like challenging, you can say challenging questions. But I guess once you are really in the moment, like like you're conversating with someone or a friend, then you are answering genuinely, right? You answer what you feel, and that makes the conversation and the entire interview experience like really genuine, and then like really interesting as well, because he was interested in whatever I was saying. And you don't have the time to make things up, or I guess that doesn't even cross your mind. So essentially what I'm saying is like just be in the moment, right? Don't be so much anxious or overindulged in the fact that this interview might go wrong, because I know that's not something that one can control. But to help with that, you can just have like practice earlier, and that was what I did. Like even at home, like sitting in front of mirror and just talking to yourself, like talking about yourself, talking about your interests. So this is like one of the golden tip, like just before your interview, or at least while preparing for your interview, like prepare like a outline or answers, like write down probable questions, what they might be asking in an interview. You can also find that in the throughout the internet, and then just prepare like answers, and then try not to mug up that answers, rather just go with like the critical points that you want to mention, and then try to develop a story. And what it gives is like you won't be thinking about it during the interview, because that'll pause you in between, and that's like really awkward during an interview. So once you have that critical points or crucial things that you want to mention, then you can develop a story around it, right? So that was essentially what happened during the interview. So everything that I wanted to say in an interview, he asked the exact right questions, I guess, and I guess that happens when you are really in the moment, and then when you are actually having a good conversation rather than interview or something formal. So yeah, that was like really good moment for me, I guess, throughout the interview, like the best moment I had. Because I didn't know. So they have like a time limit of 20 minutes for each interview. I didn't know when the clock hit 20 minutes. And the program director really like appreciated that, whatever I had to say. And yeah, I mean, it is also something that I can like really help with, because I really feel that interview was the biggest factor that helped me matching. And I would definitely want to help others as well.
We
But
could make
basically,
a
yeah,
yeah, we can make a video about how to approach interviews, and I think that you're a
sure.
pretty you're a good person who can keep a conversation going, because we've already talked around for around 15 minutes, and so it kind of you kind of get the conversation going, right? I mean, it's some
Right.
people get it naturally, and some people have to develop it. But the thing that I derived from your experience, if I were to sum it up a little bit, is that so get good scores. That's always there, so do your part in the best way possible. And number two is that keep your windows open. Keep it genuine, so that opportunities can come from everywhere. So people have their kind of motives, but just keep it down a little bit. So maybe 1 or 2%, and the rest 98%, 99% is all your ingenuity that matters, right? So after that, and just sometimes a leap of faith is what can get you to the place that you
True.
want. Because I'm sure
True.
you must have a lot of had a lot of dilemma regarding while ranking programs, right? Because for us non-medical, I mean non-US doctors, most of us try internal medicine and all those primary specialties where we feel it's our safe zone, right? I mean, where we kind of have a safe landing, because we're not we spend a lot of time and money, everyone does, but so many people have got a lot of things to lose if they don't get matched in the first cycle, because there's always that part of a fear of not matching, right? Let alone matching into Johns Hopkins into anesthesiology is already, an immense kind of a thing. But not matching is even more scary, than not getting to Johns Hopkins, right? I mean,
Right, right,
you could go there for fellowship if you don't do it directly. So that is what
right,
I derived from your story, right? If you were to
right.
say a few words, I mean, so let's say 5 8 words to sum up how to make your dream come true. I mean, to get to practice where like where people who get Nobel prizes in medicines, they come out with, from having a legacy of Dr. William Osler and things like that. So how would you say in a few words, let's say 5 7 words that it could be a tough question, but like 5 7 words that you would like to just name it on your, I mean, fingers, right? So, what would be a good combo? I mean, the $1 million question is always there, but what's a likely, likely arrow that you should shoot? So, if
I mean, the question in itself is very difficult, but the way you put it, man, that's so that makes it so complicated, bro. Anyways, so that's very well put. I mean, I guess, and honestly speaking, I think you should head on to, or you should target what you want to do in the future, rather than like a specialty or a hospital in particular. Like honestly, you should just focus on what you want to do for the rest of your life. So I guess when you have that, you know, real motive for your whatever you are doing or whatever you're trying to do, you'll always have that cushion where you land no matter what happens. Like even if you match or if you don't match, like if you really feel or if you really want to be the type of doctor, you'll always find that energy, that that dedication to work harder, um, no matter what. So what I'm trying to say is, like, don't just get stuck or be bothered with a specialty or with an insecurity that you're going to match or not, because if it were for no risks, then I guess like we wouldn't have been in the 21st century, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there were risks, so there was 21st century. And by 21st century I mean like the like like people around, and how things are right now, the humanity itself. So I guess just find that inspiration or find that reason of why you are becoming a doctor and what you want to do for the rest of your life. So that'll help you figure out your steps, because once you know your destination, you'll figure out your steps eventually, one way or the other. Like you're bound to meet with obstacles and complications and ups and downs, but once you have your mind straightened, like, you'll definitely reach there. I guess that's what I drew from this entire journey. And about specialty, I know, like, there are a lot of reservations, especially for the foreign medical graduates, and you have to definitely consider a lot of things. But I guess it all comes down to what you want to do. Like the first question, are you really willing to do that? That's a decision solely you have to make. Like, you can, like, take advice and hear from everyone else around you, but it's you who's going through that walk, right? It's you who's walking through that path. So ultimately, you should be able to prioritize what you want to do. Is it just that you want to be in the United States no matter what, or you want to do something that you think will enjoy you for the rest of your life? I guess that's what is important, and will really help you, like, dedicate yourself and derive that energy. So that's one thing, and the other is that you know in this entire journey, like, you'll definitely face a lot of hardships. Because even me, it was, I guess, a couple of times I had already thought about postponing my application for the next year, like doubted myself, and that's normal. That's absolutely normal. So you just have to find that willpower to move ahead. Like, is it worth the risk? Um, and that, but also, I guess you have to be very careful about your steps, like what you are going to do, and if it's worth it or not, because you might not have cleared the steps properly, but then you are like heading for like the interviews or preparing for your application. Then that's not the right way. You have to move step by step and figure out every step of the way, and be mindful of what might happen in the future, or what complications might be there. But take it slow, and like very cautiously. And I guess once you really put your mind onto something, you'll definitely reach there.
Okay, so that was
That's what I like to
great.
say.
Yeah, that those were some really good thoughts. I guess that is what separates you from the other doctors that I have met. So
Oh my god.
no, because
Thank you.
you like to keep it real, and I feel that keeping it real is one of those qualities that people these days, I mean, many people can't do it. I don't know why that happens, but keeping it real, it should be natural, but people find it very difficult. I mean, let's not go into that. So, Dr. Gaurav, thanks a lot for being here in the show. I'm sure your story must have been will become an inspiration for all these other people who are going to apply for future match years, and especially for me as well. I never thought, because ROADS, right? So the road specialties are like, they're untouchable. So for a person, so I was used to looking at stories in forums where people were so they got matched into Stanford and Harvard and everywhere else, and just having someone who is right next door, right? Because we went to medical school together, and so having someone who is just right next to it actually makes you feel that, so okay, yeah, this is possible, because I've
Right.
known someone who's done it, so who was there as my senior in my medical school. Now he's there, so that gives you much of an added inspiration. And yeah, we could make these sessions in the future coming days as well, and maybe you could talk about all interviews and everything else. We could do that. So for the first time, this
Right.
is the first time that I'm doing this kind of interview, so forgive me if I kind of confused you with all the tricky
No,
questions and the curveballs and everything.
no, Anurag.
But yeah, I
It was the first time for me as well.
but
So
I'm sure
I
there's
mean,
more to come for you.
for you as well, bro.
I'll
Anyways, like,
yeah.
for yeah, just to sum it up, like, I second what you said, like, about being able, or like, you're equally qualified, because just a year ahead, like, I mean, I'm sorry, just a year back, I was in the same position, and trust me, I'm no different than anyone else. So, just break through your insecurities and just go for it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a great thought. Okay, so I guess we should end it for today. And
right,
I'm really am thankful that I could get you for the first episode, and it's really good because with all the applications, I mean, with all the processing and with all the
process.
classes that you've been taking, you've found the time to actually come and give this interview. I really would have loved to talk to you in person, but yeah. So let's hope that in the future days, I really wish you all the best, and yeah, maybe you and I could be taking a stroll around William Osler's room in the I mean in the Billings
Probably,
Administration
probably.
building, and
Yeah.
probably, so let's hope for that. Who knows?
Look forward to it, Anurag. Yeah, and I mean, thank you for having me as well, because it's definitely a learning opportunity for me as well. And the fact that you approached me, it just makes me realize that what I've achieved is great. It's like, uh, it's like,
But
just
it
that
becomes,
feeling.
yeah, but it becomes greater when you share it, right? I mean
Right,
your
exactly. I mean,
story is here for the world
true,
to see, so that must make it really
true.
even
And
better.
right, and then, like, that platform that you just provided, like, enabling me to do that, I'm just thankful for that, man. Really.
I
I
was
mean,
thankful
I
for
really,
you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so yeah, let's end it. And so that was Dr. Gaurav Shrestha for you. I will probably link his Instagram. I think. Are you okay with your Instagram
I
being?
don't, I don't have an Instagram ID.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
that was my fault regarding the background search that I did not do. But well, I will kind of make sure that viewers might be able to contact you. So maybe we can leave
Sure.
kind of a thing, an email or something like that to conversate with you. And for me, I'm always here. So yeah, thanks a lot for joining in, Dr. Gaurav, and I really wish you
Yeah.
all the best. So yeah, let's end it, I guess. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thanks, Anurag.
Yeah,
Take care.
thank you so much.